Hello and welcome to the Jamf video series providing Jamf Pro access for specific tasks. This session is an introduction and overview to the video series. I'm Dave, and in this session I'll highlight the value, the process, and mitigate concerns for creating sub-admin access to Jamf Pro. I'll lead you through what's going to be covered throughout this series, with the overall intent to show you how you can facilitate providing Jamf Pro access outside of the IT department that extends the ability to foster an agile, personalized user experience. Before we get started, I'd like to point out that this series is provided to supplement, not replace, our formal Jamf education courses. I highly recommend that the Jamf Pro admin take a look at our 100-level video series that's available online for free, and consider taking our other Jamf Pro courses. We'll get into who exactly is this audience that we're recommending handing off tasks to. We'll also look at mitigating the actions that can be taken by a Jamf Pro admin when setting up other accounts to ensure that those people only have very specific access. We'll walk through setting up sites to provide limited access, and we'll show the actual way to customize admin access. We'll look at the very specific tasks that we're going to hand off to other people. And then we'll take a look at how to provide access in perhaps a simplified workflow. Beyond just giving someone access to navigate around Jamf Pro, they'll actually be able to go straight to the place they need to. While managing all tasks within Jamf Pro by non-technical people is certainly possible, we're going to highlight through this video series handing off very specific tasks to certain roles. Here are some of the roles that we've heard from our customers that are already using Jamf Pro on a day-to-day basis, either in a limited fashion, like we're proposing through this video, or they may have full access to Jamf Pro and they've been formally trained and are pretty much managing things down at their local level. In this series, we're going to start off showing sessions that are targeted at the Jamf Pro admin, a person that's already been trained and is confident in using Jamf Pro, and we'll detail what can be done to set things up to hand off certain access to other people. And the primary tool we'll utilize for this is setting up sites. With Jamf Pro, someone can have full access and be able to manage all aspects of the devices across an entire organization. Or we can limit that access down to a very specific set of devices through sites. Often sites match the buildings, but it could also be a subgroup within a location. A site could be just one high school, or a grade level within that high school, or it could encompass just the devices at one specific elementary school. We could also give someone access to 3 or 4 elementary schools through access to multiple sites if we wanted to, and we'll further define that in a very specific video. We'll spend time talking about customizing admin access and how we can ensure by only giving read or modify options to very specific things. We can mitigate that concern of someone having too much access. And there's still going to be a reliance on the person that has overall functionality capabilities in Jamf Pro. The access we provide will be based upon the task needing to be accomplished. What task is going to be done by one person in a building may or may not be done by someone else in that same building. We can provide ability to lock a device, access loss mode, get into some security settings, set or reset passcodes. However, these are all things that we can decide what that admin user can do. To provide specific tasks in Jamf Pro, I'm going to suggest using static user groups or static device groups depending on how you have your devices organized. We'll apply those static groups to specific profiles. We'll also discuss giving access to modify some profiles. One way to simplify a workflow for users of Jamf Pro is to create a web clip to take them directly to the very specific tasks. That can be deployed through self-service directly down to the user. Similar to access of static user groups or configuration profiles, we can give access to very specific management tasks in Jamf Pro. Even though we're going to highlight some very specific tasks here, it's important to acknowledge that this is not an all-inclusive list, and it doesn't mean you have to give all of this access and all of these capabilities to each user. If we're going to look at modifying a group, whether it's a user or student or device, we can give access just to that capability to someone so they can move a student or a device in and out of a camera restriction or a website restriction list. Within a school, there could be several multi-app restrictions that can be applied during assessments, so students are limited to a handful of different apps, instead of just using guided access that can only provide access to one or allowing access to all the apps on the device. We also know that a lot of schools block access to the App Store for all students. But with the ability to modify a static group tied to App Store access, we can allow the App Store for some students based upon a digital citizenship plan, or perhaps they've earned the privilege in another way, like being on the honor roll or on student council. Same can go for providing an extra category right within self-service to apps that not all students have access to, that students have earned. When it comes to granting access to admins to modify profiles, this may be something you want to restrict a little bit more. One possible use of this is to allow someone to be able to add new websites to a restrictive list. Another configuration profile that can be modified is the ability to adjust specific apps that are tied back to that app restriction list for assessments. No need to call IT to simply add a new app to that list. Give that access to someone else. Beyond static groups and configuration profiles, we can also give very specific access for device management. Providing access to updating inventory, that could really reduce trouble tickets going to IT. Same true for access to sending a blank push. Applying loss mode, recently new capability, and putting that into the hands of people right in the building that aren't necessarily in the IT department may speed up the process and cut down the involvement of IT when it comes to locating a simple misplaced device. At the same time, we can separately give access to someone having the ability to find the location of the device, because that might be something you want to limit a little bit. For all of the capabilities we've talked about, for the static groups and profiles, we're going to look at creating one specific for each site. We can have a camera profile that we can apply, we can clone and use that on all the different sites. When we start creating static groups for either users or devices, we'll clone that and add it to the different sites we have. And lastly, while the user can navigate to these specific spots in Jamf Pro, or you could give them a shortcut link page, we'll look at creating a web clip for each of these static groups or profiles, and then scope it down to that new admin's iPad. After the first few videos target at the Jamf Pro admin audience, we'll provide a series of videos for the audience of the person being given access and how they can perform very specific tasks. Thank you for watching the introduction, and I hope you find this video series helpful. Please forward any feedback or suggestions directly to me at dave.saltmarsh@jamf.com.